I had had MS already for about 4 or 5 years before I had a very dramatic episode where I got a lesion in my spinal cord. So I suddenly lost all sensation down one half of my body and started to lose movement on the other side, similar to a stroke. So it was a bad place for it to happen in the spinal cord, and it was a very dramatic and obviously that something was fairly majorly wrong. I didn't know anybody who had it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what caused it. I had the vague idea that people ended up in wheelchairs, but I didn't know anything really. Well, the first thought, I think, definitely as a mother is your kids. You think, how is this going to affect my family? How am I going to be able to look after my kids? Particularly with the lesion that I had being so severe and causing paralysis. MS Queensland was the first port of call, and that was recommended, I think, by the neurologist. So I was given information, and MS Queensland kind of became my launching pad for discovery. I spent a week in hospital on steroids to combat that severe attack, and during that time was just given a lot of information, and yeah, MS Queensland was fantastic because it was able to put me in the right direction and get me started on a journey of discovering what the problem was and how I could live with it and how I could even try to, manage it well. Yeah. So it gave me hope, I think, for the first time. This relief, this sense of hope, this sense that there's other people who are doing this and therefore I'm going to manage. Sorry. I went to see the counsellor at MS Queensland, and that was really helpful. He did some tests on me to help me understand how cognitive abilities were being affected. And that was, it was a bit daunting, but it was also really helpful just to kind of face up to where things were at. And I've had somebody come out to my home from MS Queensland who's helped me look at how to manage the way I'm living, how to manage the cognitive dysfunction when it comes to short-term memory and forgetting that you've left the stove on and all those sort of things. And they were able to refer me to a range of services and tell me what was available. And I think that was what gave me hope. At the very beginning was finding an organisation that specialised in helping people with MS access the resources and services that are available to them. Going to Africa so soon after being diagnosed with MS actually helped give me perspective. We live in a world in the West where we expect everything to be sunshine and roses and to be like the ads on TV, and life is just not like that. And for the vast majority of people around the world, life is not like that. And so having something like MS and going to Africa, all of a sudden it's like, this is not so bad. And in fact, I am so blessed to be in a country where there are things like MS Queensland, where there are services to help people in my situation. And so I wanted to give out of my own painful experience, but I also just gained perspective that, yeah, this is life and you just got to get on with it, as they do in Africa, amazingly. So the people there were a great inspiration to me. MS Queensland facilitated connections for me that made all the difference to hopelessness versus hope, and believing that I could live with this well and it didn't have to destroy everything I'd ever hoped for.